Howdy, hello, hi there. Welcome to Charlie Darwin Textiles Studio, where I have a crap ton of clothing to sew. I'm talking 30 garments in about 8 days. When I realized that I had 30 garment orders on my website that had been placed over the last couple months. They're on pre-order, but I said pre-orders would ship by end of May. Without losing my mind, I can sew about 1 to 2 garments per day, depending on what the design is. So I had to email some customers and apologize and say, I'm so sorry, I love you so much, but this is gonna be a little bit late. I think I can get it all done actually within about 2.5 weeks. At best, but I am going to have to do a little bit of sewing on the weekends, which I don't love, not my favorite way to spend my weekend. I love getting out there, especially now it's getting warm out, but sometimes you just get yourself into a pickle and you're like, I just gotta rip this. I gotta do it like a Band-Aid. We gotta sew some clothing. But I'm excited for specific parts of this journey I'm about to go on. It's an opportunity for a lot of things, a lot of practices that I'm working on. For instance, one thing I'm trying to practice is taking good care of my body as I sew, as I really get sucked into a project. I can get pretty focused on work. And also when you're sewing by yourself, I'm sure a lot of you know, there's a lot of time and space for rumination up in your head. And I've gotten pretty used to that over the last 5 years of sewing, but I can kind of get lost from my body in the process. And then that can equate to some pain, some physical pain afterwards or during, because I wasn't really paying attention. Sometimes I even forget to go pee. Standing too long is really hard on my feet and my legs, and can't get enough blood flow up to my shoulders. I'm not stretching. These are all things I'm trying to keep track of when I do any sort of sewing, but definitely when I'm doing a 2.5 week sprint like this. So we'll be looking at that kind of stuff. And then in addition, this also is a great opportunity for me to think about how I can sew more efficiently, how I can keep my space clean in the process, all those sorts of tips and tricks. So I think this video is just gonna be chock full of, hey, here's real life of what it looks like sewing a lifetime's worth of garments in 2.5 weeks condensed down. So I'm so excited to have you here. Let's just go ahead and dive right in. Let's go. My first garment order, I'm gonna sew them mostly, I think, in chronological order generally, but I am gonna try and clump together sewing garments of the same color so I don't have to switch out my sewing machine thread as often. And also, especially if I have two of the same garments, that's gonna really help me, I can almost sew them at the same time. The first one up to bat is going to be a Mantis dress. It's a linen maxi dress. She ordered in black. Thank you so much, Gina, for your order. You get the privilege of being the first of 30 on the sewing table this week, and the Mantis dress is not a pattern in my shop yet. A lot of the garments I'm gonna sew throughout this video are patterns that you could sew at home because I've released the full sewing pattern tutorial and all sorts of variations that my clothing customers don't even get access to. So I've already cut out about 3, 6, 7, 8. I've already cut out about maybe 15 garments. So that's half. I'm waiting for some more fabric to come in. I didn't quite have enough because I didn't realize, being a dum-dum, I didn't realize how many orders I had. So waiting on the extra fabric. I've got about half cut out, and I did cut them all out with height adjustments included. So all the clothing that I sell on my website is sort of customized in that way that I adjust it by not only size, of course, but by body height. So that really appeals to people who are a little on the shorter or taller side. And it's what I really encourage you all to do when you're sewing at home, is to make height adjustments before you cut your fabric out. It really, really helps the garment fit a lot better proportionally. And you can find my height adjustment calculator over on my website. Oh, oh my God. There's from cutting out all of the fabric, and then I just cleaned out my machines, and I feel like my air purifier is not doing its job. There feels like there's still so much like linen dust in the air. I probably should open a window because yeah, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna work on Gina's order, putting together the bodice first, then the skirt. I'm hoping this one will take me about 2.5 hours is what I have planned for it. So let's go. That's pretty funny. Instantly, the first seam I go to do on this dart is just all rat nested. I think it's because the settings on my machine, like, I don't know, I feel like sewing machines have brains of their own, but the last time I used it, oh my God, and that just made me realize, as I'm talking to the camera. Okay, so I was sewing thick vinyl to make seats for our boat that we bought. I think the issue is that I have in there a different needle. I put in like a really thick needle so that it can puncture through the vinyl, and I need to switch it back. But just so you know, someone who's been sewing for a long time here, sews professionally, this is still an option on the first seam when I sit down. So we're all subject to a little bit of seam ripping. I don't wish that it was my first seam. Not a great start to the day and to the next 20 days, but here we go. Something I've been doing for my setup lately is making sure that I always have my water bottle on my sewing table, my cutting table, like make sure that it is right here. Hopefully I just inspired you to drink some water in your own life. But super easy to forget doing that. And then another thing interesting on my sewing table is my computer mouse. I use it to actually control my monitor. I keep up my pattern instructions in a pretty large font so that I can just scroll through them as I'm working. And my wireless mouse is great for that because if my screen turns off or whatever, I can just kind of wiggle around and scroll. Another sort of like techie part of my sewing setup right now is noise canceling headphones. I've been really liking them for sewing. These ones are Sony. I got them for Christmas, so I'm very grateful for that gift. Thank you to my beautiful boyfriend. He actually got them for me because our cat sits outside my sewing room door and she just cries and cries and cries. She's screaming, she'll wail, she's throwing tantrums out there because I'm not giving her enough kisses. And I can't give her kisses all day and I can't let her in here with the pins and the hot iron and whatever. So my boyfriend actually gave me the headphones saying like, this is so that you don't hear Nate screaming outside your door. But in addition to that, they're really good at cutting the volume of the sewing machine. I used to think that just regular headphones were enough, but I really like the noise canceling ones because it totally cuts the loud clanking of my sewing machine. I can still hear generally if something is going wrong in the machine. Like I think sewing such a sensory activity that you use your eyes, your ears, your hands all coordinated to kind of sense if the fabric is going and the thread is going the way you want, right? But I still feel like I can sense good enough even with noise canceling. And so these have been great. I've been doing podcasts and my audiobooks and stuff like that with them on. I just found a little hole or something, I guess, in the neckline seam that I just made. And it got me thinking about mistakes and thinking about the journey arc, whatever, that I've been on since I really started sewing about 5 or 6, probably like now 6.5 years ago. You don't realize how unconfident you are and how much confidence you can gain in the moment that you're starting something new. You just think you're gonna be stuck there forever. At least, don't mean to speak for you, but I guess speaking for me sometimes. And just the amount of comfort you get after sewing so many garments comes in several formats. One is I had to be open to making mistakes in the first place, and figuring out how to push through them. I think when I was painting, I am a painter as well, and I did a lot of painting in high school and college and a little bit after that. And I taught painting classes, and I really felt like almost 50% of being skilled at painting is about being able to roll with quote unquote mistakes or things that didn't go on the way that you thought it was going to go, but being able to kind of move with it and either get it back the way you wanted to or shift directions. And being able to steer that is really, I think, where a lot of the skill is. And I think that's true of sewing as well. Holding capacity to make mistakes, and then once, or have things not go the way you're wanting to, like even in the machine, the fabric starts turning a way that you're not wanting to. And I'd say so much of the skill is figuring out how to manipulate it back into the location you want it. And that just takes time, I think. I think that takes time, a little bit of hand-eye coordination, but it does take time, and I did get there, I think. And a lot of the pain of sewing has gone away. The more I understand what is worth fretting over. So like, how precise do I need to be on each of these different steps? Because some parts of sewing, it really is useful to be quite precise. And then other parts, it's like, okay, close enough. Like that, good enough, decent enough. And that even varies between garments, like what needs to be precise when you cut, if it's a loose garment or tight fitting garment, how many panels there are that are fitting together, yada yada. I think I was so freed by this girl, and I know she sews with stretchy fabric, but I was so freed by this girl, Stormy Kelly, I think.
This is the inspo, let's do it. I'm not measuring, I'm just gonna cut and pray, baby, cut and pray.
I see her videos come up on YouTube, and she just cuts out garments like a crazy person. Just like no drawing, no tracing. She's just got an electric knife and just like cuts shapes. And then she puts it on at the end and it looks pretty good. Granted, she's working with stretchy fabric, so I think that there's so much like leeway there for how it fits and the silhouette and stuff, but I think seeing that like freed me up a little bit on how it shook my brain around on how precise I feel like I need to be on every single step. And I was really like holding myself to this rigid standard. And on these lines, I heard advice one time that was from a business owner to other business owners, but I think it applies to a lot of stuff in life. He said, you know, I think the best thing a small business owner can do is try and be a B+ business, not an A. Don't even go for being an A+ business. You should really aim to be a B+ business. And that's a little hard to accept, I think, for some more like perfectionist personalities and people pleasing and all this stuff. But I think it applies for sewing also. Like a B+ garment is probably a finished garment. Like, it's probably one where you got to the end and people aren't going to notice anything that needed fixed between B+ and A+. I think in my head, I've started to organize over time what needs to be extremely precise and what really doesn't matter. And maybe I'll do a video about that soon, because I think, especially working with linen, there are things that are important and things that aren't, and I'd love to share all that I've learned with you. Doing the burrito method for Gina's Mantis dress to line the bodice, and this is the part. If you've sewn with my Argent and Sable pattern, the one I just put out, it's a lined bodice, and I show you the burrito method, make like a really clean bodice, but the scariest part is like pulling it inside out after you do the armholes. You gotta just pull so gently, especially on the Mantis dress, has even tighter like shoulder seams, so it's a little bit tighter squeeze to get the bodice out. Ah! It's really stuck. Oh, Oh my gosh. I did it. All right, I need you all to figure out how to fix my Serger motion. Why is it moving? It literally moves all across this desk. It's insane. So I put under it a long time ago. Ignore the dust, the lint, but I made this mat out of like an old ironing surface thing, and I thought it would work great because it has these like grippy bumps on the other side. I don't know if you can see that, but those grippy bumps, I thought, well, that will just stick to the table and it won't move anything. No, it moves. The whole thing just crawls around. So what are you guys using under your serger or your sewing machine to keep it from bouncing, to keep it from moving around, having a party, a life of its own? Help. I know this looks insane, but this is the time where I have to take note of my body. I could kind of feel myself at the sewing machine. I could feel a lot of tension building in my shoulders, which means for me, I have something called POTS. I have a hard time getting blood to flow all the way back up to my head. It's like a nervous system issue. Anyway, I start to feel shoulder tension while I sew. And one thing I'm been doing lately that I really do think is helping is I go into bug mode, which is me laying on the ground like a bug stuck on my back and putting my feet up higher than my head, trying to get some more oxygen rich blood just to flow to my shoulders and head through gravity. And I also think it's like a good time for me to just kind of check in with my body, do any stretches. I could do like a happy baby stretch if I need to. I can open up my hips a little bit, stretch my arms up above my head. I also was told by a chiropractor to work on my posture. She called me, this was a few years ago, and she told me I'm like a turtle that needs to go back in its shell. And she recommended that I put my legs flat on the ground. She said technically you can do this on a wall, standing up, but I like doing it on the ground. It's a little bit easier. So lay flat on your back and do snow angels with your arms, keeping your spine straight, and you're only doing the snow angels with your arms, not your legs. I don't have a lot of room right here, so I'm actually doing kind of like a W, working my way up to an I, and I think it's doing just as good. Keeping my arms flat, and it's supposed to be apparently helping my muscles in the area get stronger, because they're probably atrophying from how freaking far forward my head is, especially when I'm sewing. So my time on the ground is well spent. It's like a good reminder to just kind of like close my eyes, also check in, take a moment, take a break from visual stimulus. Another trick that I learned through, I'm doing like neurosomatic therapy right now to help regulate my nervous system better. Absolutely loving it, by the way. Would 10 out of 10 recommend. I'm doing it through an online membership called Brain Based, and it's called the Rewire membership. Absolutely love it. If you feel like if you feel like your nervous system has just gone to shit, that is how I felt. Anyway, we won't get into the reasons for that and all, but something I've learned a couple cool tools and techniques there, and a lot of them are good, especially since I'd say I'm a highly sensitive person. I talk about that in another video about what that means, but stimuli is a lot. I can get overwhelmed a little bit easily. One thing to do to help kind of like reset your visual system, because it's taking in so much, is to cup your hands over your eyes so that you block out all the light entirely, but then open your eyes. So your eyes are open, but all you see is darkness. And this can kind of help reset stuff. So I like to do this in my breaks as well, especially after I've been working on the computer for a while. And last but not least, I'm also practicing some breathing exercises to help get the breath going. I think I'm not breathing well when I'm focusing on sewing or work in general. I do have a nasal obstruction, a deviated septum. I gotta get that fixed. But in the meantime, finding some calming breaths through straw breathing has also been really helping calm everything in my body down and shift me from a state of sympathetic nervous system, which is like your fight or flight nervous system, to parasympathetic, which is like your rest and digest version of yourself. So one way to do this is straw breath. You want to keep your exhale longer than the inhale. So and a straw breath is acting like you're breathing through a tiny straw with pursed lips like that. And the count I'm doing is in for 2, out for 8. And so in through my nose for 2. All right, this concludes floor time. I guess we'll get back to sewing now. All right, I just finished the last seam of the first garment. So many more to go, but this was a great start. I didn't have any crazy screw-ups or miscuts or anything. It's just a nice, simple black dress, fully lined bodice with darts up there, and I think they're gonna love it. Oh my God, I have so many more to go. I'm in debate on if I want to sew a second garment today. A lot of times I like to just keep it to one. I think pushing myself past that will get me into burnout territory a lot quicker, but getting ahead also feels good. So I don't know, what would you do? Also, why is my camera so crooked? That's kind of the vibe, you know? B+ filming. All right, it's the end of the week. Stuff's just like falling off the wall at this point. I am in it, guys. I'm really in it. This has been a lot of sewing so far, and I still have so much to go. But so far, I think I've sewn So far, I have sewn 8 garments and a few scarves, but they all turned out really nice. I don't think I had any massive boofs or anything. Of course, there's a couple little places I had to seam rip and redo on 1 or 2 of them, but None of them caused me major headaches, thank God. And there were a couple things that made my eyes really happy when I saw them. So this is the first time of me seeing my Finch shirt in light blue. So every time I see one of my garments in like a new color, it just is like a new, fun, happy visual for me. And it turned out really, really pretty. And the other one was every time I do the knee patches on the swallowtail pants, they turn out a little bit different because it's different fabric scraps that I have on hand and different combinations that I do them in. And this is how these ones turned out. I use my like postage stamp like patchwork method. I have a whole video about it on YouTube and a blog post you can follow if you want to do some fun patchwork knees like this. It's way simpler than you think if you've ever tried quilting before. But I really think all the garments I sewed turned out so pretty, and I think moving forward for the next, 20, I don't know, maybe like 15 garments I have left to sew, I think I need to clean before I jump back in. I need to dust the entire room, throw out all the fabric scraps, even just right in front of you on the floor. There's been an explosion from cutting out a paper pattern, and stuff just feels like it's all over the place. But that's expected of a very much used sewing room. Gets messy, you clean it up, not a big deal. Today, it's Friday at 1:50 in the afternoon, and I think my plan is to cut out a few more orders. I spent the whole morning cutting out more orders, by the way. I think I cut out 7 more orders because I had more fabric come in this week that I dyed some of it, I pre-washed some of it, and then I want to pack up the 8 or so orders that I have ready. It's not 8 orders. Some people ordered, like one of these people ordered 4 things, so it's like half the stuff I just made. Thank you so much, by the way. A big order is going out to Fern, and then another one to Diana, and then another to Gina. It's crazy. I can tell that you're trying to build up your dream linen wardrobe, which is something I've been recommending a bunch to all of the people who sew. And follow my channel because you can grab all my patterns and you can make them a million times, and you can really build up this super cohesive mix and matchable linen wardrobe. That's what I've been doing, and I'm basically just giving people the blueprints to do that. But for people who don't sew or don't have the time right now, I can tell some of you are having me sew it for you, and I love that as well. With some of these bigger orders being placed of like 4 or 5 garments, you're thinking smart about how am I going to be able to mix and match these and have tons of different combinations to wear throughout the week and the season and the year and for many years to come. Okay, the last step is going to be to eat lunch. Then I need to iron some fabric that I pre-shrunk in the washer dryer, then cut out a few more orders, and then pack up what I've got done already. Here we go. All right, it's a rainy Saturday morning, but I've got my first 3 orders packed up. It's 8 garments total. I'm gonna get them to the post office today. It's 10:30 a.m. on May 30th. So these orders are actually going out on time by the end of May, as I promised. So woohoo! At least some of them were a victory here. They're all going to be victories, but some later than expected. All right, heading out to the post office now, and I think I'm going to end this vlog here probably. It's been fun sharing this. I don't typically do a lot of vlogging or sharing the process of sewing or packing too often, just because it's hard for me to focus on 2 things at once like that. I feel like when I film too much of it, I make more mistakes in my work, which isn't good for anyone. So I try and keep it pretty minimal. That's also why you didn't see me necessarily sewing a ton in the vlog today, but you get to see lots of the finished products, how I pack them up, and hopefully I didn't screw up in that phase and that nothing's going to the wrong person. I only had 3 orders to manage, so it wasn't too hard, but yeah, I really enjoyed this. I hope to see you guys in the next one, and wish me luck on keeping this place clean in the process. I don't normally work on Saturdays, by the way, like heading to the post office today, but I do feel like in these more intense circumstances, it's okay to throw in a few extra days here and there. And also it's raining today, so I don't even have much fun to do outside anyway. After this, I'm probably actually going to jump right back into sewing more clothing orders. I'm still sticking to the plan of doing about 1 to 2 per day. So let's see how long I can stick to that. I'm staying optimistic and I'm still doing my stretches. See you in the next one. Bye.